Hello, it is time for recommendations. So I did a video about overrated metal bands, but I want to make it a series to put some more underground releases that I think are fantastic on your guys' radar from projects that I just think are worth checking out, please, for the love of God. I'm going to keep all of these descriptions very concise because I don't want to spoil any of the experience for you or take that away from you, the magic of it, but I am going to give the spark notes for these projects and what to expect stepping into it. All of the links are going to be down in a pinned comment in the comment section below. I highly suggest, without a doubt, checking all of these out, and I hope you guys enjoy them. Let's get into it. So the first record I want to put on your guys' radar is the Zombie Shark record, I Will Destroy You, Myself, and Everything I've Ever Loved. This is one of my favorite albums, and an album that I think gets criminally slept on. I've actually interviewed Corey on the channel way back, and for those of you that have been kicking it around here for a while, you will know that I gave this record a perfect 10 out of 10, which I rarely do. This is a cyber grind record with a lot of different influences. You cannot boil it down to one thing, but if you want a concise description, it is an electro grind, a cyber grind record that is heavy as all hell. You have a lot of progressiveness in it, but it is just a metalcore and deathcore record that is infused with synths and electronics and breakdowns and so many cool effects with the vocals, and the instrumentation is fantastic. The production brings it all together to be this monster of an album. It is a very curt album. It doesn't really go on for too terribly long, but in the time it does stick around, I think it makes such an impact. It is one of my favorite albums, and if you want to taste test a track, please check out the track Hell World. I think that is the best one on the record, and I still, years later, find myself going back to that album regularly. There's very few other records that have scratched that itch for me, and I hope it does for you too. Next up, another record that I gave a perfect score to way back when, the record The Life Feeding Flame from the project 4. This is a project out of Sweden, and every single identity of the band members or the sole contributor to the band is unknown. But holy fuck, this record is like, if you want a description, it is like if you took Primitive Man's chunkiness, distortion, and depressive smash, and then the heaviest bass from a band like Crowbar or just a really low, murky sludge metal band, and then combined it with extreme death growls, extreme sludgy production. It is monstrous. It is the same thing I get from the record Caustic from Primitive Man, just that choking feeling that so few records are able to successfully really nail down, and this project did it amazingly. My jaw was on the floor when I first heard this thing, just from the sheer efficiency of how well everything comes together to make an experience that will leave you feeling so hopeless and just crushed by the end of it. It is so heavy, but it's heaviness with such substance to it, and that's why I love it so much. Next up, we got another one-man project, Drown's record, Sebaceous. This was a record that ranked extremely high way back when, and it is one that is not something you want to miss if you're a funeral doom metal fan. I think this is one of the best funeral doom metal records that have released in the past decade or so that I have heard, but it just slipped under the radar, slipped under the cracks. Not many people know about it, not many people heard it, but it is a forlorn, sappy funeral doom metal release that is themed around, you could guessed it, water. It is themed around the aquatic nature of things, and it is so surprising to me just how successfully that theme is incorporated without losing the hallmarks that funeral doom metal is known for. And the slow trudge of this record really captivated me the first time I heard it. I think it's mesmerizing and pretty much everything you could want from a funeral doom metal record. The mix is fantastic. It does it so many favors to make everything pound, every single riff ring out to oblivion in such a droning fashion. It is a fantastic funeral doom metal record, so don't miss out on it if that's up your alley. Next up, the Italian band One Day in Fukushima with Permanence. This is a very short grindcore EP, one of my favorites the year it came out. I remember stumbling upon it, and I was surprised more people weren't talking about it. It is very sort of, funnily enough, Asian inspired. Like, if you hear a lot of things coming out of like Singapore, Indonesia, Japan, it has that worm rot intensity and quickness, but minus the throaty shrieks you could get from like a Discordance Axis. It's much more like a Napalm Death with how the vocals come across. It's very deep, very guttural, very growled, but the production and the riffs are very pummeling. The percussion is heavy. It is just a nice little grindcore EP that I think grindcore fans shouldn't miss out on, because I think you'll enjoy it. And then finally, for anyone that is a fan of progressive metal turned up to the absolute extreme, Nug with Alter Ego. I am a massive fan of this project. These guys are a Ukrainian progressive and post-metal band, and I actually discovered this album right amidst all of the stuff that was happening with Russia and Ukraine, and I think that contributed a lot to how powerful this record came across. The lyricism is gorgeous, but it is so heavy but beautiful at the same time. It does everything that an amazing progressive metal record can do. But don't get me wrong, don't think this is just a melodic, harmonious, dancing through the fields fairies music. This is very heavy at many points, and even though it does have those breakup periods where it breaks up the monotony and tension, it is still a very crushing release, and I love hearing that from progressive metal, because I think a lot of the mainstream progressive metal bands nowadays try to play it very sanitized, try to play it very clean, when I think this record has a ton of bite to it and a ton of ferocity, and that's why I love it so much. So if you are a fan of that, or that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. You have some new music to check out. You can always count on Jay Morris. If you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to give it a like. I appreciate it, and it helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.